Hey, what's up, everybody? Rob Sower here with Sower Real Estate at Keller Williams. And as you can see behind me and look out the window here, I'm obviously in the North Pole. I don't know what the deal is. It's March. It should not be like this. I know this is usually the time of year where everyone is, if you're like me, you're kind of like, okay, snow, it's been nice, and now it's time to get to springtime. And it's not happening. So anyway, enough of that. So market stats, a lot going on. Last time around, I posted this video, or our market stats video, on Facebook, just trying to get a little bit more traffic and stuff. And somebody kind of busted me that I didn't really hit on the market stats for North Idaho, and that is true. I really focused a little bit more on the Ada County, so I'm going to try to touch on that a little bit. That being said, first of all, I am going to start with the market stats for Ada County. And like I mentioned pretty much every time, but just a quick recap. What you see in these charts here, this is your basically the last 12 months of what's been going on. The dark line that you see is everything that sold. The lighter gray line is everything that went under contract that month. And the red line is all the active listings throughout the past 12 months of the year. So what we have is just a quick little recap is, so for February, our active went up from 599 to 604, so it's pretty flat. And our sold went from 284 up to 359. Pending went from 392 up to 422. And our average home sale price actually came down to 604. So for the year, we're down for Ada County's aggregate about 1% total. And our inventory is 1.2 months. And one thing I want to point out that's really interesting is, a lot of times we look at, see this little asterisk here where I'm looking at the average home sale prices is 0.8% so far. I started looking at each of the different locations, different markets for Ada County. And what I found to be really interesting is, for example, the North End, Area 100, which is one of the strongest, well, it's actually the strongest performing market. They've actually seen a drop of 2.8% so far this year. And their inventory is actually at 1.8. So they're getting close to the 2 months of inventory. And I found that to be pretty interesting. Now, a quick little snapshot of the market stats for North Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, and the Kootenai County area. A couple of bullet points, and then I'll touch on how that compares to the last month. So median home sale price is $511,000, and they're quoting that that's down almost 2% from a year ago. Active listings about 600, so that's again pretty flat. It was 609 last month. Home sold year to date is 258, and they're quoting that as being down about 28% over February of 2022, but I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. And then average days on market is 107. Last month for January, it was 113, so not a huge change there either. What I found to be the big change here was the homes sold year to date, because in February being 258, the previous month in January was 109, so that's an increase of 149. And that's kind of what we're seeing in general for the market, is we're seeing kind of an increased amount of activity. Now, some of that is seasonal for sure, but I think some of it is also some of the things that are going on in the market. Now, these are like my little notes that I prepared for today, because I just wanted to kind of hit some bullet points, and I want to go through some of those things here. And no, I'm not going to just read everything, but I do want to make sure that I touch on a few things. So one of the questions I asked myself that I was hoping would be helpful for people that watch these videos is, what are people asking? What's kind of the temperature of the market? And this is not a North Idaho, South Idaho thing. This is just in general. And one of the things I'm hearing most common is kind of kind of a question about, okay, what's the market doing? How do these interest rates impact things? And it's different for buyers and sellers. For the buyers, they're basically wondering how obviously their financing is going to go. They're wondering what kind of strength that they have in making offers and that sort of thing. And one of the things I'll say on that actually, especially when you start talking about pricing, how the interest rates affect pricing, because that's obviously another thing that buyers are wondering about. I personally feel like a lot of that has already been factored into the market. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of change as far as pricing goes moving forward. I think that 2023 is going to be fairly flat. And so part of the reason I say that is we've seen so many price reductions that I feel like the market's already kind of adjusted largely to that. Now you're going to see some fluctuation, right? I mean, you're not just going to see it completely flat. We have little ups and downs. I just think at the end of the year, we're going to be fairly flat, largely speaking. So the other thing that I've had buyers wondering is, I hear a lot of people talking about, oh, well, interest rates are going to probably change and then we can refinance. And my advice to buyers is maybe, but don't count on it. I would not count on, expecting that these interest rates will come down. My advice is, count on them staying at this close to 7% range and then work backwards from that. And if you can make that work, great. But if that's a real stress for things, you have to count on the fact or expect maybe they won't change. So I'm kind of cautioning people on that. I hear some people, especially in the certain parts of the lending industry and the real estate industry, where people are saying, oh, well, don't worry, things will come down and you can refinance. Like I say, maybe that's the case. I wouldn't count on it. The other thing I'm telling buyers is to just basically take your time figuring out what you want, and then, once you figure that out, to move quickly on that, because we are seeing, just like I mentioned in the increase in home sales, we are seeing buyers coming back into the market. Inventory is still relatively low, even though it's basically twice what it was this same time last year. We are seeing some multiple offers starting to happen. And so if you're a buyer, don't think that you're going to just have this opportunity to do whatever you want. You definitely have more strength in the market, but not so much that it's, you just have to recognize other people are in the market too. And it is pretty strong in certain areas. That being said, shifting to sellers, people, like the listings that I have coming up, people are asking me what to do, what to expect, etc. And again, my advice there is to do the little extras. It's a competitive market. Buyers do have a little bit more strength than they did, say, a year ago. And so you just kind of have to know that, and you have to plan for it. So I'm advising people, make sure you do, if you've got to do carpet, do some carpet. Make sure that you are wise about it. I'm counseling a lot of my listing clients on which carpets to use, etc., what things to do. From my design background, it's just something that I just know more about carpet than I care to admit. So definitely do those extra things. Make sure that you are paying attention to really good photography, and staging, I think, is huge, because people are seeing this stuff online first. And I know this isn't like rocket science, but I think it's just much more important in a market like this than it was when it was a crazy seller's market. I think it's still always important, but I think it's more important when you're in a market that's a little bit tougher like this. And finally, at the end of the day, I don't want people to think that I don't want people to be making their decision on buying or selling based on what the market is doing, quote unquote. I think it's a better play to figure out if it's a good time for you to move based on certain criteria. And if it is, great. Do the best you can with the circumstances you have. And that's where, a good real estate agent can kind of counsel you through that ask you the questions that I think are important, and not just look for, hey, let's get your house on the market, because it might not be the best thing for you. So anyway, hope that's helpful for you guys, and hopefully that a little bit more emphasis on the North Idaho market stats will satisfy to some degree the people that had some challenges with it. And if there's anything we can do to help you guys, let us know. Thanks. Bye.